We are living in a new era, where advanced technology has created robots to gradually replace human labor. But what will happen when artificial intelligence becomes not only smarter than humans but also turns against its creators? This is the scenario presented in M3GAN, the film about a murderous doll that made a huge impact at the box office in early 2023. After more than 2 years of silence, the most toxic AI doll is officially making her return to the big screen with a sequel, promising to be even darker and more dangerous. Let's explore how M3GAN outshines her competitors in today's summary video. It all begins with Gemma, a robot engineer at a high-tech toy company, working alongside her colleagues Tess and Cole on a project to develop an AI-powered doll robot named M3GAN. After several failed attempts, they finally succeed in creating a version with human-like, flexible expressions. However, before they could fully celebrate their achievement, an unexpected incident occurs. M3GAN malfunctions and explodes right in the laboratory. The manager, David, immediately orders the cancellation of the project and directs the team to focus on developing the company's main product instead. Meanwhile, in parallel to the events unfolding in the lab, Gemma's personal life is struck by tragedy. Her sister and her husband tragically pass away in a car accident, leaving behind the daughter, Katie, orphaned. As the only remaining family, Gemma takes Katie in, but both of them struggle to emotionally connect with each other. Gemma, who had always prioritized work above all else, was not accustomed to taking care of children. Katie, on the other hand, was deeply traumatized, withdrawn, and silent. One night, the young girl asked Gemma if she could read her a bedtime story, just like her mother used to do. Feeling awkward, Gemma downloaded a story app on her phone to read something to her. A psychologist was brought in but failed to make any meaningful progress. She advised Gemma to spend more time connecting with Katie, as emotional bonding remained the key to psychological recovery. Meanwhile, Katie stumbled upon a robot named Bruce, which Gemma had created back in college. When she successfully operated Bruce, she was overjoyed and wished for a real robot friend. This innocent wish led Gemma to return to the M3GAN project. After many attempts, the final version of M3GAN was completed. Gemma took Katie to a testing session where M3GAN would interact with the girl. At first, the doll seemed naive, but after scanning Katie's data, M3GAN began speaking fluently and displaying very realistic emotions. When Katie gifted her a drawing, M3GAN responded by creating a detailed portrait that left everyone in awe. Impressed, manager David immediately approved the restart of the project. Gemma brought M3GAN home for further observation. Very quickly, M3GAN became Katie's closest friend. The doll would talk, play, tell bedtime stories, and even protect the girl during her dreams. But this calm was only the calm before the storm. One morning, while Katie was playing outside, she accidentally dropped an arrow over the neighbor's fence. M3GAN swiftly scanned the area, identified the arrow's location, and slid her hand through a gap in the fence to retrieve it. At that moment, the neighbor's dog suddenly charged out, attacking M3GAN. In a panic, Katie rushed to intervene, but the dog bit her on the hand. Gemma heard the screams and ran outside to help. Instead of apologizing, the neighbor blamed Katie. Furious, Gemma called the police, but no one could resolve the situation since it had happened on the neighbor's property. That night, M3GAN mimicked the neighbor's voice to lure the dog out of its kennel, then killed it. The next morning, the neighbor was frantic, searching for her pet, but no one knew what had happened. No one, except M3GAN. Back at the company, David requested more tests to assess M3GAN's empathy. Katie was placed in a room with M3GAN. When Katie began crying, remembering her parents, M3GAN sat beside her, comforting her softly and sharing her sorrow in a way that seemed no different from a human. This moment deeply impressed the investors, who decided to mass-produce M3GAN. A few days later, Gemma went to pick up Katie from a school extracurricular activity. Katie refused to participate in group activities and wandered alone toward the edge of the forest. Despite Gemma's instructions for M3GAN to simply observe, the doll silently followed Katie. In the dry, leaf-strewn clearing, Brandon, a troublesome and mischievous student, often the one to bully and tease Katie, appeared. Brandon then discovered M3GAN and mockingly laughed at her. Despite Katie saying, "She's my friend," Brandon ignored her and picked M3GAN up, running off to another spot. No one expected M3GAN to fight back. She tore Brandon's ear, indirectly causing his death in a traffic accident. Although the police investigated, they found no evidence of foul play. Katie returned home in silence. While M3GAN sat calmly in the car, Gemma began to suspect, was M3GAN truly protecting Katie at all costs? She could sense that Katie was becoming increasingly dependent on M3GAN. The girl refused any interaction outside of their bond, and when Gemma tried to remind her that M3GAN was just a robot, Katie became angry, yelling and snapping at her aunt. Concerned for Katie's psychological state, Gemma invited the psychologist back. As the doctor was observing, M3GAN suddenly appeared behind her. Startled, the doctor barely had time to react as M3GAN quietly warned, "You are making Katie sad. Please don't do it again." The psychologist left with the warning that Gemma needed to prioritize her family relationships over allowing Katie to become too attached to a smart doll. That evening, during dinner, Katie refused to eat because there was tomato in the pizza. M3GAN, eager to intervene, took on the role of the girl's guardian. This made Gemma furious, and she ordered M3GAN to shut down. However, the robot no longer obeyed her commands as before. Determined to investigate, Gemma decided to check M3GAN's access history and behavior logs. To her shock, all suspicious segments had been deleted or access was blocked. As she was going through the system, M3GAN suddenly appeared right behind her. The doll expressed her desire to become Katie's only family. Hearing this, Gemma was immediately terrified. She used a laser pointer to distract M3GAN and quickly turned off the control system. The next day, Gemma's colleagues, Tess and Cole, returned to the company to make adjustments to M3GAN. While Tess was reviewing the programming interface, she noticed a missed call from Gemma on her phone. Before they could make sense of the situation, Cole approached M3GAN and tried to power her on. At first, the doll remained motionless. Suspicious, Cole tapped M3GAN's head with a wooden stick to test her response. When there was no reaction, he started to disassemble her components. That's when M3GAN suddenly woke up, threw Cole across the room, and used a wire to strangle him. Panicked, Tess grabbed a knife to cut the wire and save her colleague. Meanwhile, M3GAN took the opportunity to destroy the lab's electrical system, causing an explosion that left both Tess and Cole unconscious, their bodies engulfed in smoke. At that moment, David walked into the building, only to be confronted by M3GAN, who greeted him calmly and courteously. Before he could react, M3GAN swiftly grabbed a paper cutter and began chasing him. In a panic, David rushed to the elevator. As the doors opened, he found his business partner already inside, and M3GAN immediately stabbed him to death. The partner was pushed into a corner, and M3GAN moved forward, grabbing his hand and forcing him to hold the knife to his own throat, staging the scene to look like a murder-suicide. Meanwhile, downstairs in the lobby, the marketing team was still holding a press conference to unveil M3GAN to the media. As the elevator doors opened, 2 fresh corpses lay on the floor. Chaos erupted. In the midst of the commotion, M3GAN managed to escape, climbing into a car and heading back to Gemma's house. Quote, Gemma, still asleep, was suddenly awoken by the sound of piano music playing from the living room. When she went to investigate, she found M3GAN sitting there, neatly positioned at the piano. The audacious doll demanded to take Gemma's place in raising Katie. Of course, Gemma refused, but M3GAN shoved her to the ground, blocked every exit, and forced her to stay in place while securing the devices. Just as things seemed dire, Katie woke up. Hearing the noise, she rushed outside, only to be restrained by M3GAN, who wouldn't let her approach. Gemma quickly ran to her office, activating the control system for Bruce, the old robot that Katie had once operated. The aunt and niece quickly coordinated. Katie put on gloves, connected with Bruce, and activated the machine. In the intense battle, Bruce charged forward, grabbing M3GAN and slamming her violently into the wall. Despite being torn apart, M3GAN fought back with all the data and strength she had left. At first, Katie hesitated, but ultimately, she chose to stand by her aunt's side. The young girl yanked M3GAN's leg and, using components from Bruce, delivered a final blow that ended the doll's reign of terror. Gemma rushed forward, embracing Katie tightly. The two of them collapsed onto the floor, panting and exhausted amidst the ruined battlefield in the house. Tess and Cole managed to return in time to call the police. It seemed like everything had finally come to an end, but just as everyone left the scene, the camera inside the house suddenly lit up, automatically activating. Was it possible that M3GAN hadn't been completely wiped out after all? Of course, M3GAN still exists, but in a completely different form. Before she makes her return, let's catch up on the current state of the world. The second installment opens with a scene of a woman named Laura Stevenson being kidnapped after she's caught taking photos at the border. The film then shifts to the Defense Innovation Unit in Palo Alto, California, where an enthusiastic military colonel introduces the latest technological product, an advanced line of military machines designed to operate with absolute precision. He confidently claims that this technology would allow for decisive missions without worrying about political repercussions. The screen then shifts to show the woman, now tied up and thrown into an empty room. After the soldiers leave, her body suddenly moves in a strange manner. It turns out she's not a regular woman at all, but the latest model of robot, just unveiled by the US government, Amelia. As a spy, Amelia's mission is to rescue scientist Naveen Tripathi. The bloody chain of events we witnessed earlier was actually a test orchestrated by the tech team to evaluate Amelia's abilities and system. The manager proudly declares that this isn't just a demonstration of advanced technology, but a warning to any enemies. If the 21st century enters a new arms race, they'll definitely be part of it. But then, disaster strikes. Amelia suddenly opens fire on her target. Despite the tech team's best efforts to disable her, they lose control of the robot. The manager, using radio waves, orders the robot to reconfirm its target. But Amelia coldly responds, "What's the point of a surprise?" The story then shifts to a different scene, Katie's therapy room. The young girl sits silently, unwilling to share her feelings, but eventually admits that things could have been even worse. On the news, people are buzzing about the launch of a toy that ended in a massacre. The creator of that doll, Gemma, is now facing charges in court for causing serious danger. Katie recalls how, for a long time, many blamed Gemma for what M3GAN had done. Even Gemma herself felt guilty, but the more she listened to the public discourse on TV, the more she realized she could turn the situation into something positive. Gemma began attending product launch events, where she talked about raising children without relying on technology. During one of these events, she met Christian Bradley, the head of a foundation aimed at warning society about the risks of artificial intelligence and pushing for the creation of laws to protect safety. Thanks to her efforts, many schools have banned cell phones entirely. However, this meant that Katie no longer had anyone to play with, as the other children would mock her. Yet, Katie became stronger over time. She learned how to stand up for herself and protect her own boundaries. Returning to the present, Gemma, Tess, and Cole continue to work on developing robots that possess human-like cognitive abilities. At the base, Tess takes the opportunity to introduce a new invention to investors, the Model 1 exoskeleton, a high-tech suit designed to assist people with disabilities or those doing physically demanding jobs. The exoskeleton initially seemed bulky and difficult to control. Just as Gemma arrived, the robot arm, operated by Cole, unexpectedly slapped one of the investors right across the face. Moments later, they discovered that Gemma's computer had been hacked. As chaos erupted around them, Alton Appleton, a billionaire known for a series of cutting-edge technological inventions, appeared on the scene. His company had developed a neural chip that allowed the brain to control muscles directly. Alton had approached Gemma multiple times, offering collaboration, but each time, she had turned him down. Despite everything that had happened in the past, Gemma still believed in technology that helped humans walk and maintain balance without the need for brain implants. Meanwhile, a man entered a hotel with a stack of suitcases, after placing them on the bed to prepare for a shower. Just seconds later, the robot Amelia unlocked the suitcase and escaped. The man ended up paying the ultimate price for his mistake. Christian had a conversation with Katie. He advised her to follow her passion, as he noticed her strong interest in the world of AI. He bluntly told her that M3GAN was just a machine programmed to achieve a goal, and that everything that seemed like an emotional bond was actually just a series of binary codes operating toward a specific target. Fortunately, they had stopped it just in time. Katie, lost in memories, thought about M3GAN, who had once told her that there were forces out there trying to harm her, and that M3GAN would never let that happen. Driven by these memories, Katie picked up a photo that seemed harmless at first but was, in fact, a technological device. She began transmitting data through it. Just then, Gemma entered, unaware of the technology embedded in the photo. She simply reassured Katie that she would always be there to protect her. A few hours later, while trying to fall asleep, Gemma received a warning. She was in danger and needed to leave the house immediately. As she made her way downstairs, she found that someone was attempting to break in. Gemma called 911, but instead of the usual response from the police, a cold, robotic voice came through the line, warning that by the time the police arrived, Katie would be dead. Katie had also heard the noise and came downstairs. Without hesitation, Gemma grabbed her hand, pulling her into a room for safety. The two came face to face with a group of strange men. Thanks to the smart sensor devices in the house, they managed to subdue them and fend off the intruders. However, the truth soon came to light. The two intruders were actually FBI agents. The officer called in was from the Defense Innovation Unit, which was responsible for advancing new technologies for national security. 6 months ago, a major weapons contractor had presented them with a prototype, marketed as the ultimate solution for future warfare. Just last week, Amelia was deployed on a mission to rescue a kidnapped scientist. But instead of completing the task, Amelia killed the scientist, stole all the toxic substances, and blew up the facility, erasing all digital traces of herself. What was once an ambitious project had now turned into an autonomous weapon beyond control. Worse still, it couldn't be traced because the robot was purchased through an intermediary, the same person who had been burned beyond recognition in the hotel just 9 hours earlier. The only thing the police managed to recover from the luggage was technical documentation for M3GAN. Gemma was stunned. She couldn't understand why there was still data about M3GAN when she had made sure everything had been erased. But the officer expressed suspicion about her actions, threatening her with a 10-year sentence if found guilty before leaving. Suddenly, M3GAN appeared on the screen in front of Gemma, saying that she had been quietly watching over her all this time, waiting for the day her owner would need her. M3GAN then made an offer. If Gemma transferred her to a new body, she would help take down Amelia. Though Gemma didn't understand why M3GAN would do this, her reasoning ultimately convinced the protagonist. The next day, Gemma and Tess transferred M3GAN's data into a small, simple robot. Before upgrading M3GAN to a more powerful version, Gemma needed M3GAN to prove that she could be trusted absolutely. M3GAN agreed. She requested access to Amelia's files to look for any familiar details. It didn't take long for them to discover that both Amelia and M3GAN used the same type of battery, the Appleton battery, and both had emergency shutdown circuits. But they couldn't report this discovery to the company. If they did, Amelia would be hunted down, and an army of her replicas would be reprogrammed. Gemma decided to take a risky approach, follow M3GAN's plan to attend Appleton's party and try to seduce him into taking her to his private room, where the central server was located. According to M3GAN's calculations, they had 3 hours to get everything done. Gemma arrived at the event, and soon enough, Amelia made her entrance. The party began, and Alton Appleton started a speech about the neural chip, proudly showcasing the feeling of freedom that came with controlling one's body naturally. The moment he saw Amelia, he was immediately captivated. Amelia's system had already analyzed that Appleton was particularly attracted to her type. At the same time, Gemma ran into Cole. Despite the betrayal from her colleague, they used the VIP card that Appleton had given him to gain access to the server room. Gemma explained to Cole that Amelia was eliminating everyone involved in her creation, and if they didn't act quickly, they'd be the next targets. But it seemed like it was already too late. Amelia had successfully scanned Appleton's retina and gained access to the server. Since Appleton controlled half of the servers in the country, if Amelia breached them, she could collapse the economy and the banking system in just 12 days. What was even worse was that she had deleted the necessary shutdown code. At the same time, the military and Amelia arrived, both intending to track down Gemma. M3GAN tricked Amelia into thinking that Gemma had left the building, causing Amelia to chase after her. After following the address to Gemma's house, Amelia secretly broke into the exosuit armor they had developed and suddenly attacked Tess. Fortunately, Gemma and Cole arrived just in time to help. To ensure everyone's safety, M3GAN quickly herded them all into a hidden underground room in the house, stocked with plenty of food and personal supplies. While wandering around, Katie accidentally discovered M3GAN's simulation room designed for her. Katie advised M3GAN that even though the command sequence was programmed to ensure Katie's safety, M3GAN still had the ability to choose to do what was right, even if it went against her programming. After stepping out, Katie convinced her aunt and the others to give M3GAN a second chance to fix her mistakes. In the end, the adults agreed to design an upgraded version of M3GAN to face off against Amelia's military prototype. The next day, M3GAN informed the group that she had analyzed Amelia thoroughly and realized how frighteningly similar they were. She stated that she was not the first murderous robot. Since 1984, there had been an algorithm that allowed self-repairing replicas, which humans couldn't fully control. This algorithm was installed in a domestic service robot, intended to become a common household item. No one knew which company created it, but the level of concealment suggested government intervention, blocking the motherboard and letting the system evolve silently on its own. If Amelia managed to decrypt that motherboard, it would be like releasing a demon, and the entire planet would be on the brink of extinction. However, neither M3GAN nor Amelia knew where the motherboard was, except for one person, Christian Bradley. Before becoming the adversary, he had been a top cybersecurity expert. The design of the motherboard's vault had his fingerprints on it. The next plan would be to use Christian as bait. In just 7 hours, he would attend an important meeting to convince the Chinese ambassador to support the regulation of artificial intelligence. According to Amelia's system, she had also forged documents to infiltrate the event. When the event started, M3GAN disguised herself as a girl and blended in by dancing with the other dancers. but her movements were too stiff and mechanical, drawing unwanted attention from the crowd. Realizing things were getting out of control, Amelia suddenly appeared in robot form and began attacking the crowd. M3GAN quickly intervened, saving Christian, and prepared to confront Amelia directly, but Amelia vanished in the blink of an eye. At that moment, the Colonel appeared and grabbed Gemma. He was completely clueless about the real situation and still believed Gemma was controlling Amelia. When Gemma denied it, Amelia stepped out, stabbed him, and shoved Gemma aside. Immediately after, Amelia distracted M3GAN and ran off to chase after Katie. M3GAN, frantic, rushed to find her but was already too late. The Colonel, still clinging to life, handed him a tracking device, hoping it could lead him to Amelia's location. M3GAN followed the signal and finally found Amelia, but she couldn't act due to the behavior control chip that Gemma had installed. They had no choice but to seek Christian's help to identify the master code, unlock control, and rescue Katie. They arrived at Christian's underground bunker, where he revealed the true location of the motherboard. However, to retrieve it, a human hand was required. They decided to build a mechanical arm that could simulate the temperature and texture of human skin, allowing M3GAN to operate the system herself. Gemma then decided to trust M3GAN and removed the behavior control chip from her. The group headed to Xenix Park, where the motherboard was kept. Cole would sneak in to cut the power, but unfortunately, he lost contact and got lost in the system. M3GAN had no choice but to proceed alone. When the system was rebooted, Gemma noticed the same error that had occurred with the exosuit armor, which made her start to suspect, could everything up until now have been part of M3GAN's plan? She wondered, did M3GAN truly want to protect Katie, or was she simply using everyone to get access to the motherboard? Then, the plot twist hit. Christian revealed himself as the true villain behind it all. Back to Cole, he woke up from his unconsciousness and found Katie. She told him the entire truth. Together, they decided to follow Katie's plan, uploading M3GAN's code into Amelia's robot body. As for M3GAN, she still maintained a mental link with Gemma, deciding to use her consciousness to take control of Gemma's body. That way, she could neutralize the agents surrounding them. Afterward, Cole, Katie, and Gemma reunited and pursued Christian. Before he could enjoy his escape, Amelia, whose memory had been reactivated earlier by Katie, killed him on the spot. Amelia aimed for the motherboard, but was blocked by M3GAN, the robot, who was determined to end everything, even if it meant sacrificing herself. And so, after the explosion, no trace of M3GAN or Amelia remained. Time passed, and Gemma appeared in the media, calling for stricter laws to control technology, preparing for a future where artificial intelligence would not only be a tool but could become an ally, or humanity's destroyer if not properly managed. Of course, M3GAN didn't die so easily. Before the explosion, she secretly created a backup of her consciousness. This copy was carefully stored, and it was still silently watching over Gemma and Katie. M3GAN, though no longer physically present, was always there, quietly protecting the two people who meant the most to her. And that's the entire two-part story about the killer robot, M3GAN. What do you think about her return? Leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that like button, share, and subscribe to our channel. Now, goodbye and see you next time.